Hi everyone, welcome to Above the Noise. Today with a very special co-host, aka my sister Eileen.
Hi.
Yes, we are going to be talking today about a topic that we're both very passionate about, so she's going to
Yes.
join. And let's get started.
We're
Turkey.
talking about Turkey or Türkiye. Türkiye,
Yes, depends on
whatever.
how you
We,
want to
yes,
pronounce it. Turkey, the country.
yes.
Yeah, and what's going
It
on?
changed its name, obviously, but I just cannot get used to saying Türkiye all the time.
Same. Same. I don't say Turkey.
Yeah,
I only say Turkey if I don't speak in Turkish. So in
same.
English, it's Turkey
Yeah,
to me still.
yeah,
So we will just say Turkey.
yeah.
And yeah,
So go ahead and, yeah, let's start it.
let's start it. So basically, for those of you who don't know what's going on right now in Turkey, again, it's very much in the niche of sort of geopolitics and international relations that we talk about in this
Yes.
podcast. And basically, Turkey has been having major protests for the past 1 week, anti governmental protests, because the mayor of Istanbul, who happens to be one of the biggest opponents of the current president, got arrested. And the funny thing is, and I just learned this recently, one day before he got arrested, his university annulled his diploma. Did you know about that?
Yeah,
And
I knew about that. That's
of
crazy.
yeah, officially, what that means is that he can technically not run for president. So on Tuesday, I think, on the 18th or 19th, they annulled his diploma. And then the next day in the morning, they came and arrested him on some made up charges against for corruption and terrorism. And basically, he was seen and he still is seen as the biggest opponent of the president, the current president Erdogan,
Yes.
and someone that is very likely going to challenge him in the next presidential elections. And that's why Erdogan was just like, I'm going to take a page of Putin's playbook and arrest my opponent and see what happens. And the people of Turkey have been protesting ever since.
That reminds me of Trump and how they wanted to take him out of the ballots, his name out of the ballots.
Yeah.
And it was kind of the same thing because they were like, oh, he's a criminal, he's this and that. He was not even charged. He was not even he was not even convicted. So they tried to take his name out of the ballot, obviously, because they were scared of him because they knew he was gonna win anyways. So it kind of
Yeah.
reminds me of this situation because I
To
see a real fear here,
Yeah, and to me, it
actually.
reminds me of a little bit of Vladimir Putin because you know what
Yeah.
he did with Navalny, and it was much more brutal, obviously, but it's the same
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
And with every single actually strong, proper political opponent, what Putin does is exactly the same. Like, there's always some legal reason why this person cannot run, or, they should be jailed, or they should be charged with something. And that's very dangerous because specifically for the context of Turkey, what it means is that the judicial system, aka the judges, the people that are supposed to uphold the law, are not independent. They're beholden to the government.
Exactly. Yeah, I was gonna tie this to Donald Trump, and that's the last time I'm gonna use this example. The the reason it didn't work here is because like in the US, the Supreme Court is actually independent, so they blocked this. They were like, no, you cannot do this. Like his name
Yeah.
has to be like there's no real evidence. So this shows that the Supreme Court, the judicial system here is actually independent, but that's really not the case in Turkey.
That's not the case in Turkey. And basically, this is kind of what I wanted to talk about today as well. It's like, how did we get here? Because this didn't happen from today to tomorrow, it was a process. So, how is it
Yeah.
that the judicial system all of a sudden decides it's okay for us to arrest the biggest political opponent of the president? Well, it was a process. I think it started like not exactly in the first years of Erdogan, but it basically kind of really took hold after 2013 when they had the major protests in Gezi. And since then, he has been crushing down on the opposition. in any and all forms, right? So political opponents, journalists. Turkey is the country that has the highest journalists arrested in the world per capita. This is insane. There's
Exactly.
no freedom of speech. You can
Yeah.
literally, all of the media in Turkey is currently controlled by his party, by his
Yeah.
political party. So there's no independent media. This is what the people consume. And then, like, lastly, he just kept appointing his people to these judicial posts, and he
Yeah.
took over the judicial system, and it was step by step by step. All of a sudden, we find ourselves in a situation where Turkey, as a country, it's not a democracy anymore. It's very much
Yeah.
a dictatorship.
Well, it's interesting why, like, how did this happen? Why did this happen? Because I see his interviews from way back, and he was like really a different person then, and his views
Mm,
were different. And also, to be honest, his early years of presidency, I think he did accomplish quite a lot. Like, he was a good president, in my opinion. He did a lot of good stuff and good things for the country. And Turkey has a turbulent political past, and the governments have not always been like really democratic.
true.
Actually, the time that Turkey has been a real democratic, like closest to democratic country, was in the beginning years of Erdogan's presidency.
Yeah,
I don't know if you know
2000s.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
2000s, because Turkey had, like, basically in the 20th century, it had a one-party rule for 20 years or
yeah,
so after the establishment of the country, I think for obvious reasons,
yes,
because the people were not ready. You cannot just tell them, okay,
yes,
now vote, so it took a little bit of getting used to. And then the rest of the 20th century, they had a lot of military coups. So
yeah,
technically, it was not really a democracy. But yes, I agree. But I think that's why I think in the beginning it wasn't like this. That's why I said, but like later
yeah,
after Gezi, and specifically after the military coup, the attempt of the coup, he went, I think, crazy. And that's how they take away your power, right? It doesn't happen
yeah,
from today to tomorrow. If somebody takes two steps forward, and then or three steps forward, and then you start protesting, and they stop because you
yeah,
started protesting, but they already took three steps. And then they wait a little bit, and then they take five steps forward, and then you
yeah,
start protesting, and then they stop. But they're
yeah.
already 10 steps ahead. So little by little, all of a sudden you find yourself in the situation where Turkey is no longer a democracy. And that's, again, like, it didn't start maybe in the beginning of his presidency, but right now, and since the last 10, 15 years, it's been crazy.
So I don't know what is like. I really want to understand these so-called dictators. I don't
Mm.
want to like really call him that, but like people are calling him that, and I do
I
have
think he
some.
is that. I think he is that.
Yeah, and I do have like I think he accomplished a lot for Turkey in the beginning, but not
Yeah.
like we all see the economic situation and in the past like 4 years the inflation it's crazy. I just
Hmm.
really I'm interested um in the way these people think, like Putin, Erdogan, all of
The
those like so-called
psychology of a
dictators.
dictator.
Yeah, the psychology, like do they want to hold on to power because they just love power, or do they think that nobody else can be good for the country but them? I think it's the second one. I think they truly believe that they are the best that the country can have.
I don't know, because that's actually interesting. Maybe it's a combination of both, but I would say
Yeah.
it's a third factor. They're scared for their lives. Do you know how many people would love to have them killed? I think if they know
Yeah.
that if they let go at this point, they've done so much shit that they're probably not going to survive much longer if they're
I
not
mean,
in
but
power.
like even when they're in power, people like
Yeah, but
don't
it's
want them, you
different
know?
because you represent the country. Yeah, the people might not want you, but like, what happened with Bashar Assad, like
Oh yeah.
he was there, like the police was
Yeah.
behind him, the military was behind him. If you're the head of the state apparatus has to protect you. Doesn't matter whether they
Yes.
like you or not, they have to protect you. It's
Yeah.
like the Secret Service, they have to
Yeah.
protect. Maybe they don't like the president, but they have to protect the
Yeah.
president.
Well, I agree with that. That's true. But honestly, I did have good opinions about him in the beginning. I was like, yeah, he did so
Everybody
much and this and
did.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now I'm like, wow, like, just give it up, dude. It's enough. Enough
Everybody
is
did.
enough.
Yeah.
Like enough is enough.
Yeah, so many people liked him actually. And there's still
Yeah,
people, by the way, that do like him, let's be honest. And
yeah,
everybody liked him in the beginning because of the economy was doing well. He liberalized a lot of things. As you said, he was like
yeah.
weirdly bringing a democratic take,
Democracy. Yeah.
yes, to Turkey. But I think he's gone, like, yes, he's gone crazy, and I think he's testing the waters. But at this point, he's like, I will push and see until when I can push and until when will people accept what I'm doing.
And yeah, I understand, and I would understand. Okay, like be a dictator. Do you want the all power? Have the power, like have everything, but do good for your country. People are suffering. People cannot afford groceries. People cannot afford the rent. People cannot afford healthcare. People cannot afford school. The school system in Turkey is so bad. Like if you want to have the ultimate power, use it for your people's good. Like
Yeah, that's not how dictators work. They usually use it for their own good, basically. But I wouldn't say I want him to be a dictator. I actually like the fact, and this has been something that I think is good for not just Turkey but the world, that to have this example as Turkey as a country that is secular and democratic and Muslim. Like
yeah,
that's a very good example to have.
I
And
know.
I'm talking about Erdogan. Like, I think it's not a bad, it would be bad if he was like an actual dictator. I would still like to see Turkey be a democracy, actually
Yeah,
continue to be a democracy, because that's a good
yeah,
thing. That's a good value that they should have as a country.
yeah.
And what I'm
That's true.
seeing it with this is literally, I think, the first time, and for that's true maybe I think for many Turkish people as well, that they're really, because up until that point they could always say like, there's a little bit of suppression of freedom of speech, but that happens in
Yeah,
every
that's true.
country. Like, okay, he is winning elections here and there, like, I'm not sure about the validity of some of these things, but it's okay, like the elections are mostly free and fair. But now people really are waking up to this reality where if this happens, if this goes through, there's a legitimate question they're going to ask themselves, which is, are we a democracy at this point? Are we really a democracy,
Yeah.
or is this effectively become a dictatorship?
No, yeah, basically because I think the craziest part was actually annulling his diploma because that was like
That's
over 30
crazy.
years ago or something. Like, how
Yes.
can you even like it just shows that it's just a play just to
Yes.
not hinder him from running for president. Like, it's just so fake. It's so
It is
obviously
so fake.
staged.
And it's one day before they arrest him, which is crazy.
Yes.
And my point is this. Actually, I was thinking about this. I'm like, okay, as you said, you want to be a dictator. I'm not okay with it. I don't think it's a good thing, but at least
Yeah.
tell us. Like, this is also what I don't like about Putin.
Yeah.
Putin is running like he's doing elections. Why do you spend so much money on empty ballots? We know it's a farce. We know it's not true. If you want to be a dictator, you want to be a sultan, you want to be a shah, whatever, just tell the people what your goal is. Don't play this. Yes, it's like a play, that it's not
Yeah.
real. We all know it's not real, but you're just pretending because, oh, well,
Yeah.
it's good. Let's spend money on elections that are worth
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah, I think that people are not stupid. Maybe like before, now we have social media, we have
Even
we have every
before.
information we need. Yeah, even before, but now it's more. Even like younger people are more interested. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, don't pretend. We all see what is it, like what it is. Just be open and honest about it. Like, oh, we revoked his diploma because he switched from Cyprus to Istanbul, and it like at
And
that like
oh, you do it now? He's already the mayor of
yeah,
Istanbul. Like, you do it now? You just figured it out
exactly.
like last week that you have to cancel his diploma?
Yes. And I think really like he knows that and actually like the polls about, if you were to vote now, who would you vote for? Ekrem İmamoğlu was
Which is why
leading
they're
by
doing
a
it.
lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
like he knew he is gonna lose, or if he like I hope he is out of jail
Yeah.
and runs, but like basically they know they're gonna lose this time.
Yeah, that's why they're doing it. But that's so
Yeah.
stupid as well. Like, isn't that actually counterproductive? Because you are riling up the people. The entire nation is up in arms now, and you're kind of doing it. And then aren't they gonna be more supportive of him anyways? Like, that's so counterintuitive to me.
I feel like Turkey is really divided, just like the US, to be honest. Like there's a division between Erdogan supporters and like Atatürk's party supporters, because the people protesting are the opposition party, but the Erdogan supporters, on the other hand, I see on social media, they're all like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, he's corrupt politician, the mayor. He is so corrupt, and his diploma was bought with money. Yes, like this is how our system works. This is the our
That's
judicial
crazy.
system. It's amazing." So people are just divided. Like, yeah, the opposition party supporters will always protest, but his supporters will always support him.
Yeah, but I think this is beyond political party support because this is actually the essence of, yeah, like it's the essence of your democracy because it doesn't matter whether like who the receiver, let's say, of this is, whether it's Imamoglu or another politician. At the end of the day, it means that if the president decides that he wants to get rid of somebody that is his political
He can just
opponent,
do it.
he
Yeah.
can just do it. But you know what that means? Maybe Erdogan loses those elections in 3 years, and maybe someone else gets elected. And then what happens then? Is that person supposed to use the same kind of power? Like, eventually, you have to realize if you're advocating for something that's anything else but democratic, this is always going to turn on you because you never know what's going to happen. You never know
Yes.
who's going to come to power.
Exactly.
This can always turn against you.
Yes.
But I was also watching the news in Turkey, like in Turkish. I wanted to see what they were covering, what they were talking about, because the way it's being covered in the international media, it's like these huge anti-governmental protests. People are not happy. Like they're protesting the fact that the mayor was jailed. They're protesting Erdogan's government. And in the
Yes.
Turkish news, they're emphasizing that these people are thugs. They are disrupting the social order. They're kind of like they're the ones to blame that they're in the streets, like you are vandals, basically that's the message, and you're vandalizing our streets. And it's just so weird, like how, first of all, how much the media is beholden to Erdogan and his party, and second, like how the same situation can be interpreted like a million ways. For people that are more neutral, I think looking at it from the outside, is these people protesting their government. But for the government newspapers and TV, it's, oh, like these people are vandalizing the streets.
Yeah, because that's what they're told to write and say. Um, Honestly, like the right to protest is a right. Like it's in the constitution.
Yeah.
It's a democratic right. So, and these people are protesting very peacefully. Another thing I wanted to talk about is the police violence actually on them. Like
Yes.
that is like how can like they're just protesting peacefully. They're out in the streets with their boards, with their signs, like they're just peacefully protesting like every normal democratic nation people would protest. But the
Yeah.
police is just like spraying gas on them and beating them for no
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Um
And even before the police brutality, actually, what they did, they basically had a ban on protests. Like they said, oh, between Wednesday last week when this happened and
yeah,
Sunday, you're not allowed to go out to the streets. But as you said, it's a right. Like I don't need if I needed permission from the government to protest,
yes,
that would be so counterproductive. Then there would be no need for me to protest. So first of all, they
exactly.
banned protests because they're scared. And second of all, the people that do outside, they go outside, they're using violence against them.
And not even only violence. Actually, most of these people are young people, students, university students, and they are arresting them. Actually,
Yeah.
they're trialing them, and that's probably gonna be in their like background check whenever they want to apply for a job. It's gonna be like, oh, he was arrested or she was arrested, and that's gonna affect them. Why? Because
They
they were
were
using their
protesting the wrong
democratic right.
sides. Yeah. But
Yeah,
also they were protesting the wrong side because if something had happened, because you know what happened during the 2016 coup attempt? Erdogan, he was not in Ankara. I think he barely escaped being killed by the military. And he basically had a message for people. He said, like, go outside of the streets, go protest for me. And the people actually went out. I don't know if you remember that. they were then still protesting, but they were protesting for the right side, right in
Yes.
air quotes. Because imagine, like, are these people now supposed to be in jail and have background checks as well? No. So it's not even about, like, it's the hypocrisy that really gets me, because it's not about the
Exactly.
protest itself. It's about who they're protesting for, or what they're protesting
Yes.
for.
Yeah. So I don't know, like I think he will try everything in his power, and he has a lot of power, to be honest, to
Mm.
stay in
In
his
power.
position that he is now. Yeah, basically, he has all of the branches of the government in his hand. He has the media, he has everything. I
That's
don't
so
know, like
sad.
it's so
Yeah.
sad, and I feel bad for these people. I think like Turkish uh youth is really bright. They're really smart,
They
and
are.
their youth is being taken away from them. Like their possibilities, opportunities in life is just being taken away from them, and it's really sad. Like, cause we're Turkish, obviously. I feel for them really, because
Yeah.
they could have had really different lives. They could have had
Experiences.
experiences. Yeah, like even for them, it's so easy to go out of the country to go to Europe because of the
Their
economic
visas are being
status,
denied. Yeah,
their
first of all,
visas.
economy is bad, so their currency is not worth anything against the euro, but their visas are being denied because,
Yeah.
like, there's so much uncertainty and instability in the country nowadays.
So it
So I
basically is
agree.
slowly turning into a third world country. Like, I don't want to say it, but it is, because like once your currency falls, once you're like you cannot even get visas to go to a neighboring country, and you're like you just know it's bad.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the main point for me as well. Is like, this is such a huge wake up call that Turkey
Yeah.
is on the path of actually becoming a real dictatorship, and it would be so sad to see that happen, because it actually has
Yes.
good, I think it has good, stable democratic institutions. Like, the institutions of Turkey are not a joke. They're not. I was seeing some people make these comments like, "Oh, what do you want to do after Erdogan is gone? Do you want to turn Turkey into another Libya or another Syria? Look what happened when Assad went." Like, Turkey is not a country like that. It actually has democratic institutions in place. It has a judicial branch that is supposed to be independent. It has strong media. It has a strong economy. Like, it can withstand. It can take free and fair elections. Erdogan is not the only person that can run this country.
He's not, obviously. And I don't know, I feel like there is not a person, a revolutionary like Mustafa Kemal Atatürk nowadays that would like enlighten people, but I think people are enlightened by Mustafa Kemal Atatürk's ideas. Like they just keep on remembering him, remembering his words, and it's ultimately lies in like people's will to not take
This,
this dictatorship anymore. I think
yeah,
it's a breaking point. We will see. There's two options. Either Turkey is gonna become a real dictatorship, or it's gonna become a real democracy. And I think this is really a breaking point because people are really fed up with everything.
yeah, I completely agree. This is actually the real breaking point. It was like,
Yes,
so many things happened in the last 10 years in Turkey, like
yes,
the Gezi protest, the coup attempt, this and that. No, this is the real breaking point. I agree. It's like, there's only two paths after this. You either continue with Erdogan and his party forever, or you get out of this and, yeah, go through the path of actual democracy.
yeah, and it's interesting to see what will happen, and how long it will. How long do you think it will take for something to happen, to see results? Like what is gonna happen? Because I cannot, like, I'm really just I want something to happen. Like what is it gonna be the
I
outcome of
mean,
this?
I don't know, because at the moment they're still protesting as much as they can, because also people are scared. Like, people are covering their
Yeah.
faces. They are, as you said, like, they're being pepper sprayed. So anyway, like, it takes real courage to go outside and protest in the streets. So they're still there, but I'm not sure exactly what the end goal is going to be. I know that it's not gonna come. It's not gonna be the assassination or something like that, because I know
Yeah.
Erdogan is very well protected, so it's not gonna come like in the form of violence, but rather I think what they're trying to do now is to actually use the whatever is left of the judicial system to try to free the mayor, who's actually not the mayor anymore because he legally cannot be a mayor
Yeah.
because they took away his degree. And he can run from jail, actually. He can still run from jail. But the interesting thing is going to be to see, like, are they going to wait until 2028 to have elections? Because that's 3 years
No,
away. And
no,
I
no, no,
don't
no,
think
no. That's definitely not gonna
that
happen.
I think they're gonna do it much faster. But I think the reason why I'm a little skeptical is because he's doing this now. Like he's not doing it in 2027. He's not doing it in 2028, like right before the elections.
So he has
He's
a plan or something, you think?
I think he has not a plan, but he's testing the waters because he does it now. It's like 3 years, because people get riled up in the moment. And of course they will feel it. Still in 3 years' time, they will know, oh, they arrested the mayor of Istanbul, this and this happened. But the emotions are not so fresh. I think if he had done it right before the election, it would backfire. But he's doing it now. I think he's gonna wait and see what happens. Maybe people are gonna get really riled up. Maybe they're gonna release Imamoglu. Nobody knows. But he's like testing the waters a little bit. What I told you, it's how people take small steps towards their freedom. They don't take 10
Yes.
steps at a time. Little by little, they try and see when is your breaking point.
That's true. It's really smart enough to know what's gonna happen. Like, of course, people were gonna protest, but
Yeah,
maybe he
but
didn't know the scale of it.
yeah, I think so. Maybe he just underestimated. But also, people are not children. Like these are citizens of Istanbul. Like they're not kids. If their mayor gets
Yes.
arrested and his university diploma is annulled one day before he gets arrested, what do you think was gonna happen? These are not. You're not dealing with like kids. These are actual adults. So I think
Yes.
he underestimated the will of the people a little bit.
I know, and a lot of his supporters, to be honest, I mean, Erdogan is a really smart man. We cannot argue this. He's smart. He's manipulative. His supporters are brainwashed. They will support him no matter what he does. No
Even
matter
if
what
he
he does.
kills democracy.
Yes, they will support him because that's what he is doing, and his supporters are behind him. They are standing behind him strong.
I I think if you want to be a free person, doesn't matter what's your political affiliation or party, I don't think you can stand behind someone who actively wants to destroy democratic institutions.
Yeah, but that's how you think because you value democracy and democratic rights, but his supporters, like, for example, I've seen interviews of people, like, it's really sad, but this woman was saying, oh, may Allah take from my child's life and give it to your
Oh my
your
God, that's
life.
horrible.
And like you cannot comprehend these people cannot comprehend the democracy, democratic rights. To them, he is a figure close to God. He
So he's a
really is.
sultan. So he's a sultan, which
Basically, that's how they see him.
which was my point. Is like, if you want to be a dictator, just tell us what you want. If you want to be a sultan, tell us what you want. You want the Ottoman Empire back? Tell us. Like, stop playing
Yeah,
games. Stop putting up a
yeah.
facade of democracy.
I know. It's really sad though because as I said, people are just so divided, and his supporters are really, they're not gonna stand against him, I think, no matter what he does.
That's
So
crazy. Yeah.
it's just the opposition we are left with.
But many more people, I think, are becoming opposition, and it's not for the reasons that we discussed today. It's mostly because of the economy, because their lives are getting
Yes.
worse. They cannot afford to live
Just like
anymore.
here in by the way, I live in the US, so just like here, people voted for Trump mainly because of the economy.
Exactly. That's always, I think, one thing that politicians should know is people don't vote with their ideology. They vote with their
Yes.
wallet. Whatever affects their wallet affects their vote. So yeah, just be smart, I guess, with the economy. But even then, like, I don't know, like what he's doing right now, even if he had the best economy in the world, it's still not okay. And it still endangers the country.
It does definitely. Like people in Turkey used to live, like we live in Bulgaria, but a lot of Turkish visitors would come to our country, and
Yeah.
they would just like they would have buying power, they would have money, their currency was more than ours, and in the span of 20 years, even less, it changed
10,
drastically,
even 10, like
like drastically.
2012 to now, It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I think maybe just to close off this episode, I think one of the things that I want to highlight personally what I'm seeing around the world, not just in Turkey, but in Russia, obviously, in Syria, in many countries, is like democracy and freedom are not a given. I think we are
Yeah.
so used to, because we live in countries that are politically stable, obviously free,
Yes.
you can express your views, say whatever you want. You kind of feel like that's the norm, but that's the exception. That's very much the exception around the world. And even
Yes.
when you do live in a country that's free and democratic, that can be taken away from you. And this is what I'm seeing actually in Turkey right now. That's like a big warning. It's like, don't take it for granted. Keep it,
Yeah.
guard it, protect it generation after generation, because it can really disappear, and it doesn't take that much time. It can
Yeah, it
go
does.
be gone in one generation. Literally what happened or what's happening right now in Turkey, it can really be gone. And it doesn't matter how strong your institutions are. So that's for me is
They
the
can be
big
taken over.
exactly. That for me is the biggest like I guess takeaway from today is really it's not a given that you democracy is gonna flourish no matter what. It has to be
Yeah.
protected and passed down.
I one last thing I want to say is I want to like mention this taxi driver in Turkey in
Ah,
Istanbul.
yes.
Yeah, so like remember in December we were in Istanbul with you and we went into this taxi and we were talking about the political situation like you talk with every taxi driver in
Exactly.
every country. And he was like, "Yeah, I cannot leave this country for 5 years because on Facebook he wrote a post he said something that Erdogan, I don't even know what he said. Like, he just said that he doesn't agree with Erdogan. The next
Criticizing. It was a
morning,
little bit of a
yeah,
criticism. Yeah.
yeah, criticism, which are you are allowed to do, and in a democratic country. And the next morning, the police showed up to his door. They handcuffed him, like, and they took him to the terrorist organization or police station, something with terrorism. And they were like, "Oh, you wrote this about Erdogan. Is that you?" And he was like, "Yeah, it's me. I'm criticizing him." And they're like, "No, this is threat to our country. You're not allowed to leave the country for 5 years." And I was mind blown. Like I
Yes,
was
I
mind
remember.
blown. That was so crazy.
I
Like
remember this guy.
you write one sentence in Facebook, the next day you're arrested.
Yes, that's insane. And you know what? This guy, I was actually also thinking of him when I saw the news. I remembered
Yeah.
because he's not a criminal. He was working, he was making his money. He didn't hurt anyone, he didn't steal anything. He just expressed what he believes. And it wasn't even like a long thing. As you said, he wrote like a sentence or two, something a little like
Yes.
mildly criticizing, which again, he is technically allowed to do in a democracy. And
Yes.
I felt so sad for him because now he's facing trial. He has to pay so much to get a lawyer. He cannot leave the country. And this guy is not a criminal. Like there are real the crazy thing is that there are real criminals, murderers, thieves, people that really do
Rapists.
rapists,
Yeah.
exactly, like people that do real harm that go free because the police, I don't know, they don't do their job or they're not fast enough, and people are just walking around having committed major crimes, and this guy is like just expressing his viewpoint, gets arrested the next day. Priorities, priorities.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
really sad. I don't know. Like let's see and witness how things are gonna unfold, I guess.
Yes. We will probably do more episodes about this, but so far, thank you so much for watching and thanks for
Yeah.
joining. And we'll talk to you soon on episode 6. Stay tuned and subscribe and follow and comment. Bye.
Subscribe. Bye.